would pick up that cost with the second deputy?
I wouldn't. As I said, I think you have a base coverage that you already pay for with your regular taxes. That would be your one deputy. And then you pay this special tax that should give you extra coverage.
Because my understanding was is that, because we looked at the rural service deputy, if we didn't pay the special taxes too for public safety, and we just elected to have rural deputy service, that deputy is not solely dedicated to Mountain House. His beat is encompassing Mountain House district plus, across the street in other rural areas. But he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be solely dedicated to Mountain House. Where right now we're paying special tax to public safety, which means that deputy is assigned to here, he has a Mountain House title on his card, and he's assigned here, and he doesn't leave here.
Well, what I'm
mutual aid type of calls.
What I'm saying is that is how the current sheriff has chosen to staff his patrol levels. He has made that decision. Nobody else makes that decision but the sheriff. Sheriff made that decision that if you didn't pay that special tax, then that deputy would be part of covering a much bigger area.
No, I think that decision was made when we were developing this master plan. That was part of the master plan as far as LAFCO, as far as urban protection, police protection. That was designed. It was during that process that we want, when they developed Mountain House CSD, they wanted an urban police protection, which was a dedicated police vehicle, just like we have our fire station here. We're paying for, to have our fire station, and we pay into Tracyville Fire, which contracts out to the city of Tracy as a fire provider. So I just want to be certain, because it sounds good what you're saying, but when it comes down when the rubber meets the road, and if we say, hey, we got two deputies that also, we don't increase our taxes, because right now our public safety is running us about $3.2 million, and we only have $1.7 million to pay. So the rest of that money, if you do the math, is coming out of our general fund to subsidize it. So we don't have the rooftop tax base to support that. And so as we grow in rooftops and be able to get additional special taxes and about property tax, we'll be able to support that infrastructure. And that's why we kind of kept it at a level of 6 deputies at this point right now. There was always some moves to try to increase with the sergeant and other deputies, but financially, it would just continue to eat our reserves, which would just exhaust it.
Right, because he was going to charge you for that. He was going to charge you for that extra coverage. That's correct?
That's correct.
So let me finish. The sheriff can deploy his people anywhere he wants. Is that correct? Anywhere in the county? Any way he wants to?
He's the sheriff. He can
yes,
do what
he
he
is.
wants.
Yes,
but
he
they
is.
have competing other districts, cities, rural areas of priority issue. But yeah, he definitely.
Yes, he can, and he chose not to dedicate a deputy out here as a beat. Now you're right, LAFCO and everybody else with your specialty tax, that money goes towards an additional deputy, or for an additional deputy with me. It goes for the one deputy here now. I'm saying as sheriff, I can choose to make this a beat that you won't have to pay for, that I believe you already pay for with your base taxes. And I'm saying I'm willing to do that. He's not willing to do that. He's saying if you want specialized coverage here, pay for it.
Well, thank you, Pat. That answers my question. The other question I have real quick, when you talked about the jail, and I really agree with you about, we need, starts in the school level. But what, just out of curiosity, what is the percentage of different type of criminals that are in the jail? Are they drug addicts? Are they violent crime folks? Are they people for DUIs? Well, what's the population?
It's very fluid now, but the days of the low-level offenders being in custody is gone. We can't afford to keep them in. The DAs don't have the staffing or the money to prosecute on those. It's let's make a deal. It's try and get them into my programs is what they try and do. So what we have mostly is the heavy crimes. The multiple DUIs is considered a heavy crime because it's such a risk. So you're going to probably have 2, 3, or 4 DUI type of thing. And still, I let some of those people on my program. But I make them wear alcohol monitoring. So most of our stuff is more violent. The robberies, not so many as home as agents, but that type of stuff that's going on. Obviously, we're having our homicides. We have a lot of drug issues. So we've got Generally, it's just not under the influence, which is a lower level type of thing. It's going to be possession for sales and that type of stuff. So
the reason why I ask you is because you brought a good point, because one of the things I see that's happening with most of the county jail systems and the judicial system is that a lot of the inmate population, they have like multiple traffic violations, like warrants. They had to suspend a license, then they failed to appear to court and they wind up going to jail. So if you get elected as sheriff, would you make an effort to work with the judicial system and the district attorney about saying, hey, you know what, if we have really non-violent offenders that's populating our jail, we need to get them released out. Let's keep the bad criminals in there.
Yeah, I can tell you the judges and the DAs are doing that right now. That's my program. I scan the jail every day. My people, the people that work for me do that. Not actually sitting in there doing it, I gotta be honest with you. But they do. We go through that jail population and we send them actual letters when they're in custody. Hey, apply for my program. By law, if they can't afford to do it, we still let them on. So I'm culling all those people out because, as I said, $130 a day. We need to spend that money better, and if they're not going to be a risk to safety, and that's my choice. I'm the last decision whether a guy gets to go out or not. Then as long as he's not a risk to our community, I'm getting him out there somehow. Now what I've done, as I said, to make it safer, if I have a 2 or more DUI type of guy, I've instituted now they wear a thing called a scram bracelet that monitors whether they drink any alcohol the entire time they're on my program, which is great because it really helps them get sober and clean. And anybody who knows about addiction, that if you can reach that 90-day mark of sober and clean, there's something in the brain that clicks and you have a better success rate. I also do it with the drug offenders, the guys who are in for using and that type of stuff. Any type of drug abuse, they have to wear a drug patch now if they're going to be on my program. We test that every week. If they fall off the wagon or that they use, man, we snag them and take them right back in. So we're doing that the best we can. Judge Giuliani is the one who judges every morning. We send him a list of people to say we're so overcrowded we got to let people out. And he's a judge that just goes down the line and says, all right, that one goes, that one goes, that one goes, that one goes. And when they go, their time served. They're done. They're not coming back until they get arrested again. So he's the one who's supported our plan for expanding our bedding, our housing out at the Honor Farm. And said, look, we just need more beds. We just need more beds. And the more beds we get, the more people we can hold longer, so they're not out victimizing ourselves again, our citizens. And then, they just came out with a report that showed our recidivism rate is the highest in the state in San Joaquin County. 75.8% recidivism. 75% of the people that leave our jail are going to reoffend. So we got to do something about it.
Was it Monday? This Monday or last Monday? We just sat in on some arraignments and it was very eye-opening in Manteca.
Yeah.
It was like, we're sitting there looking at each other like, really?
It's amazing. It's like a cattle call. They just go through and they plea bargain it down. You saw the DA sitting there with a stack of
exactly,
and they're just going
and
through it. The
so
first time
many
they
of
saw
them,
it,
do you want to settle it today? And okay, time served, and we're just.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're plea bargaining away everything they can. So, yes, sir.
So the department used to be proactive and became reactive.
Yes.
What caused that to come about?
Well, a different philosophy in leadership. I think a good example was what happened to our canine unit. Our canine unit was very aggressive and out and working closely with not only with our guys but other agencies. And we used to apprehend a lot of people with our canines. This administration came in and they thought that opened us up to liability, although I don't know if we've ever had a successful lawsuit against us.
I think we only had to pay out once.
Yeah, and we'll pay out if we get an accidental bite, if somebody gets bit that shouldn't be. But they removed all the top leaders, all the top veteran deputies off the unit, took their dogs away from them, put them all over. Ray was Officer of the Year and a 7 or 8 year canine handler, and now 11 year canine handler, and now he's a bailiff in juvenile court. So it was just a change in philosophy, and when that happened, things start to go off the hook, it's more of a political approach to law enforcement instead of a street cop type of approach to law enforcement. And I think that's kind of telling because every law enforcement agency in the county who we work with and who we depend upon has supported me. And our own deputy sheriffs, our correctional officers, and all our civilian staff at our department say it's time for a change. So it's that type of, it was a philosophy change is what it was. And you can't chase cars anymore, you know, and that type of thing. So when you start to do that, it sounds weird, but it really makes it more dangerous, not only for our citizens, but for our officers. Because if you're starting to hesitate, what should I do? That's when you get in trouble, and that's when you get hurt. So it was just a philosophy change. Yes.
The alternative work program that you spoke about. I'm not super clear as to how it's going to be instituted, who's going to oversee it, how it's getting paid for.
The alternative work program that I run right now?
Right.
Yeah.
How is all that happening?
It's a neat program. It's been up and running for 15 years. So what it is, when you go to court, you get convicted of something, there's check boxes on that big long piece of paper that they have, and on there it says you're either eligible for home detention, work furlough, or the alternative work program. If they're eligible for those, they can apply for my program. So you have to pay to be on my program, though.
The inmates have to.
The inmates have to pay.
Okay.
So if you don't have a job or anything like that, there's a base fee. $10, $12, or $15, depending on which program you want to do. $15 for the home detention, $10 for the
Is that for the
AWP.
whole length of the program?
That's per day.
Per day, okay.
Yeah. So if you got to do 30 days, you get all these credits for good time, work time, stuff like that. Generally, it's about half your sentence off right away as you walk in the door. So you'd have to do 15 days on my program. So if you're doing AWP, it costs you $150 to do the program. You pay a $75 fee so we can do the background, check your criminal history, make sure that you're safe enough to go out. And then we assign you to places that we have contracts with that you report to either every day or every other day or just on weekends, depending on what you have going, if you have a job, if you're going to school, that type of thing. And so let's say the food bank in Manteca, they use a lot of our people. You show up there at 8 o'clock in the morning, you work all day for them, and then they sign you out and you get credit for that day. So,
And what's the rehabilitation rate for that? I mean, what's the success rate on that?
well, I mean, they successfully complete our program majority of the time, but do they go back out and reoffend? A lot of them do. You know, we're not.
So how are they able to get? I'm just wondering how they're able to get any type of rehabilitation.
A lot
so
of that,
they don't go back out.
yeah, a lot of that right now is on probation's shoulders, because even though you're doing your time or whatever it is, you're on probation, and there are conditions that come with that you either have to go to a domestic violence program or a parenting program or a drug rehab program or those type of things. So probation handles that side of it right now. I would just like to start this a lot earlier for the ones that we do keep in custody, and start keeping them clean in custody, and start trying to get them an education in custody, and start trying to teach them some skills in custody. So while we have them as a captive audience, that we start them down this road, so now when they hit the door and probation takes over, well, they've got a better chance when they start hitting those programs and stuff like that. And I'd like to partner with a lot of our local unions to start teaching, maybe framing, electrical, plumbing, things like that. Right now, we eliminated our upholstery shop and our auto body shop, but right now we have one program that is teaching them how to do fiber optic type cable work. I guess that's good. I really don't want them in my house running my cable, but that's good. I mean, hopefully that can help them get a job and stay clean and that type of stuff. So.
And is there a secondary program for juvenile that kind of is geared around the same thing?
Well, juvenile is a whole different animal. We don't deal with the juveniles. That's down again at probation and juvenile probation down on there. So yeah, they work real hard with the juveniles the best they can to try and get them out of gangs and off of dope and that type of thing. Ray sees that all the time.
They have what they call wraparound services, and it's all inclusive. The juvenile, the parents, family member that wants to go can go, and they basically will take you in, run you through some therapy classes, see where you're at as a family, and then they can basically send you out to what you need. It's family specific, like if your son's on drugs, or if your son's an alcoholic, or if your daughter's there for drunk driving, or if they're there for, you know, child molesting. Those different things have different components where we can send them. And for juveniles, it's juvenile wraparound services, that's what they call it.
Because I was never informed about this when my son was in juvenile.
Okay, what court did you go to?
Alan Matthews?
Yeah, it's the same one, and there are wraparound services, and probation, that's actually run through probation. So when you go in there, if you were to go in there now, you could ask, hey, I want my family to be involved in wraparound service. Probation officer would get you in touch with them, and like I said, it's a process. It's not just, hey, you go here and then they send you out here. They'll you know, meet with you a few times and then decide what's best for your family based on what they've learned over the years and how they dealt with people. And then they'll I don't want to say farm you out, but they'll send you out to the correct people.
Any other questions? I went over my 10 minutes.
I got a question that is asked a lot when we go. Pat's asked a lot about the jail, and he's asked a lot about the modulars, and he's asked about how he proposes to reinstate 250 beds that are currently available on our farm, if you would address that for you guys.
Well, we do. We have some barracks that we're not using on our farm. They're old, they're deteriorated, but they're just old concrete barracks. You know, they're not fancy, they're not pretty, but they can be cleaned up and they can be used. And I think jail shouldn't be a place that's comfortable, or shouldn't be a place you want to come back to. So we're looking at, when we take over, getting A, B, and C barracks, which would house 210 inmates. And we're going to clean those babies up and get them back up functioning. There's another barracks across the way called I Barracks that it's up and ready to go. The only problem you have is staffing. It comes down to funding and staffing these places. But right now we have 12 openings for correctional officers that we're trying to fill. And each time we hire a correctional officer, it costs, with all the roll-ups and that type of thing, $115,000 a year. So it's pricey, but it's not as pricey as the $40 million price tag we were trying to do, or the $80 million price tag that we were trying to do. And you can't measure how much money or revenue it's going to save us when people aren't being victimized. And when we turn around and make our county safe and make it a place where business wants to come to, then our economy is going to grow. And so there's a cost to not enforcing the law, and there's a cost to not holding these guys in custody. So we need to invest in our law enforcement to make our economy grow here. So yes.
Yeah, that one thing before you go, are you a proponent with task force? Because I know one of the successes for Stockton to mitigate a lot of their homicides is that they, again, because I know the chief assistant chief out there, Rick, one of the things they did was they went ahead and unified a lot of task forces, from state and federal. Probably a little too late, but you know, better than.
Yeah.
And so as sheriff, would you make that effort to try to reach out with your counterparts? Because we know budget's tight, money's tight, especially in public safety. So, you know, using a unified force or task forces are probably a neat thing. You know, we had an example of that not too long ago here when they took down a major drug ring that was the federal government investigation. So,
yeah, absolutely. I think it was telling that when Stockton was going through what they were going through with their record homicide rates, that they asked CHP for help and not the sheriff's office. They didn't ask the largest law enforcement agency in the county, hey, can you come help me? They asked CHP for help. When we asked our sheriff why he didn't offer the help when people were dying on our streets, he said, well, nobody called me and asked me. So there's a breakdown there. There's a breakdown of I always say guys aren't playing well together. And I really...
Press called interoperability.
Yeah. I really like Eric. Chief Jones is an amazing guy. He came up through the rank and file. I know his guys just love him. He's doing a great job. Absolutely. We need to build those partnerships back together. And the big thing, I was talking about this last night at a forum, was we need to be able to share information with each other. You know, it's just like what happened in 9/11.
Absolutely.
Everybody had a piece of that pie, but nobody wanted to share it. They all wanted the glory or anything like that. We're way past that here. You know, everybody's got to work together, and you know, we all have SWAT teams, and we all have these little specialty vehicles and that type of thing. Well, if we work together, maybe we can help each other save funds, and I don't care who gets the glory, you know, just as long as people are staying safe. And my family, when they go out for a burger, is safe, you know, and your family is the same. So absolutely, I'll reach out. I have been reaching out to the chief since I've been running for this, And I'm hearing a lot of the same stories that, you know, they don't really feel invited to the table. The sheriff says that he has these monthly meetings with them, but it seems to be more of a monologue than a dialogue that's occurring. So I definitely want to reach out to them and say, hey, what can we do to help? You know, I live in a small town of Escalon out here, and you know, God bless those little youngster cops that are running around, but they don't get a lot of experience, you know. And so I want to reach out to those agencies and say, hey, every training we have, you send your guys that you can send, and we'll help cover and backfill for you, and we'll get you that training and make your guys safer. So now when they're filling with me on a car stop, or we're filling with them, we're all on the same page, you know. And you know, the reactive teams all need to be able to work together, because God, I hope it never happens, but stats say that it will. When we have an incident in one of our major schools or something like that, we're going to be calling for everybody to help. So we all need to work together nowadays. It's just like here in your community, all of you taking care of each other, and the cops have to do the same thing. So
Thank you, Dan.
yeah. Yes.
I know a lot of people in Mountain House are very interested in having more law enforcement. Getting back to that issue of the current beat 10, I guess it is. If Mountain House had our own dedicated beat, how is that different than how it is besides the one officer we have? How big is beat 10 now?
Well, it's just Mountain House. The geographic area of Mountain House
Currently?
is beat 10. Yeah, so that's his dedicated beat that he has to cover by himself.
So how would it be different if, I mean, I'm talking besides the one that our community service district pays for.
Right.
You're saying you would provide another one.
I'd have another one rolling around in beat 10.
I don't think they understand the beat thing.
I thought maybe you were saying the beat
No,
is currently larger than just
Each
Mountain House.
assigned area of the county is broken down into a section, subsection.
Okay.
B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, all the way up to 10. Each beat is assigned a deputy. So within that beat, that deputy responds to those calls. What he's saying is that Mountain House would be its own beat with an own dedicated officer.
Which we have
What
now.
you pay over and above for an additional officer would be the second officer. So you would be considered a beat, not just Mountain House,
Where
what
we're
you're
not.
paying for your
Yeah,
own.
we're not considered a beat.
No, you're not considered, you're paying for your own.
Okay, I think you're confusing tomatoes and potatoes here. We're paying for a deputy that's dedicated for Mountain House District.
Right.
So in all terms, it's a beat for us. I mean, that deputy is paid, he stays here. The only time he leaves Mountain House if there's a mutual aid call to go fill with another unit outside. And so but his full responsibility, he has to get permission to leave out of here if he has to go, but he's paid to specifically stay here.
Right.
So, and when I heard that, and I appreciate that, because I mean, if you got my ears open up when you're saying that, you know, if you get elected as sheriff, and you're gonna put another dedicated deputy specific for Mountain House, which gives us 2 deputies, and we're paying out special taxes, you certainly got my ears open.
Good. You know, and it's as much
I wanna
for
be clear
you.
what that meant.
Yeah, absolutely, because,
It's as much for you guys as it is for these guys.
well, you know, that, we love that, because that's gonna save us a lot of money versus have to pay for another deputy.
Now I'm going to have a guy in a beat here, and as you guys grow and all that type stuff, that would be great. If your property taxes get to a point where you want to have another one in here and have a third one, that'd be great. You can buy a third one, you know. But I'm always going to have your base level. So if all of you lose your jobs and you can't afford him, I'm still going to give you one.
It's expensive.
Hey, but I like your idea where you're saying, you gotta think lean, where you gotta take the specialized guys out, put them up, boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Absolutely.
then once we get the thing stabilized, then you can start thinking specialized.
Yeah, and we will. This economy is going to turn around. You know, if we make it safe, it's going to turn around. This is all cyclical. You guys know this. It happens all the time, and we go through these cycles. So this is going to turn around, but we're going to have a good head start on making this county safe and back to the way it used to be, and make it a place where people want to come to and spend it. We've got this jewel right here in the middle of California. It should be a destination. We've got the port. We've got our own wine country. We're just an hour from skiing and an hour from surfing or San Fran, and it should be a destination, but it won't be until it's safe, because all they ever hear is about is a crime. I have a friend right now who's flying back from Hong Kong, And he mentioned that he was from Stockton, and they knew in China. Stockton,
Oh,
that place. Jeez, who's going to bring a business here, you know? So we got to turn it around. I'm keeping you guys late. I'm sorry for talking so long.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one last thing on the agenda. We are currently working to raise money to buy signs, neighborhood watch signs for all our lampposts. So Melissa has done most of the legwork with the CSD, and so what we're looking at is an 18 by 24 sign. This would be the size of the blue paper, and they would be fashioned to the lampposts. We're roughly right now looking at about $25 a sign if we can do an order of 100 signs. So it would be 25 signs, would cover almost all the entrances, walkways, and parks and schools, which is where your main traffic is. So it would be important to get the signs in those main areas, and then we could put signs within the neighborhood once those areas are secured. But the vendor I have for the signs right now would be able to do any design that we could get approved through the CSD. I did a number of different options, and if someone wanted to within the community design something that we could get passed through the CSD, then it could be customized towards Mountain House. But we want it to look uniform. We want all the neighborhoods to look consistent so that they know that Neighborhood Watch is consistent throughout Mountain House. It's not like this little pocket of this neighborhood and this little pocket of that neighborhood. We need them at the entrances, around the schools and the parks, so they know we're active, we're paying attention, and we're going to report you if you're up to no good.
And it may look like other neighborhood watch signs too, that are not necessarily specific to Mountain House. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, I want somebody that's coming in from another area that might be wanting to victimize us to know, well, hey, you know what I mean? They're not going to necessarily stop and read the sign, but if they, you know, like the red and white one up there, you know.
Some of these are more
Some of them
recognizable.
are, yeah, I want them to be like driving past them and it just clicks somewhere in the back of their mind, you know.
Like, oh, we saw
Yeah, you know, you have something pretty and invite, you know what I mean? You have
Definitely.
something more aesthetically pleasing, it might not get the job done.
So what will happen is when the funds are raised, then we will do a Mountain House vote. So we will have all of Mountain House gets a say on what sign we go with, and we'll go with the majority, all approved in CSD.
And Valera, when you mentioned like 25 signs to cover entrances, exits,
Mhm.
schools, parks, that's per village,
That's
correct?
per village. So that gets us to our 100, which is our baseline. So that's pretty much 500 per neighborhood. So some things that have worked for us in Cuesta, we've reached our minimum goal for Cuesta. We've been selling neighborhood watch stickers and window clings. Andrea, did you want to
Yes.
hold those up real quick? So
Stickers and window clings,
that people can put those
Also-
on their houses,
beware of dogs, those are.
the basic ones. It's about a $4 markup on those for cost, and then that's going to fund our signs. We also had a sponsor, the solar company, and they have signs or flyers up there, and they came and spoke at our neighborhood watch meeting and then made a donation. And so we thought that was a great thing. They're a local company and we support them. And so if you're looking at solar, we have flyers for them, but that was a big part of our budget and they filled those funds, so.
So we can make a donation. Do you have a PayPal set up on your website? We can use it, make a donation
So-
for you?
Right now, Cuesta is, I think Wickland has started their fundraising, and we're starting to get the other neighborhoods organized so that they can do fundraising themselves. So currently, we don't have anything set up, because it is a one-time fund, and we're not planning to keep raising money, so we're not forming as a nonprofit. And so,
Gotcha.
so it's just doing this one-time fundraising. We're hoping that we can get fundraised by the summer and then move forward with the process.
Excellent. Thank you.
What we've been doing is keeping track of the people who want to sponsor a sign and going out and we'll contact them when we're ready to put it in.
Just wanted to, and I think Melissa just answered it, so I live in Cambridge Place and I'm on the board,
Okay.
and let them know that I was gonna come and just say that we're on board and putting them in our area in the outskirts, and we've got 4 entrances. And so we would want them, you know, wherever would be best for the community, et cetera, and we would be willing to pay for those itself, so Melissa, I guess, will keep me posted.
And we have
That's what
contact
we-
sheets with all of our information on them, so if you want our emails, then we can definitely communicate as captain and get everything rolling uniformly together.
Okay, super.
And so there's some Mountain House Matters newspapers in the back, if anyone wants them on the way out. If you haven't signed in, you can sign in and add to the neighborhood watch. If you're interested in being a captain or leading or helping with any neighborhood watch, just let someone at one of those tables know that you're willing to help. Is there any other questions?
I have one more thing before you guys leave up there. On the presentation there, you'll see to the left, it says the hum. Pat's raising funds for, this thing is not cheap to do. It's a whole county-wide, it's not just a little area. We are going to have a group called the Hum. It's actually a bunch of players from different groups, Santana, the Greg Allman Band. They've all gotten together and they're going to basically do it as a fundraiser for Pat. It's going to be a state catfish and blues event. It's $50 a person. It's on our website. Everything up there is on our website. Pat's platform is on the website there. To the right, I believe everybody who's endorsed him.
That's straight off his website. I
yeah,
just printed it to have a video.
So if you guys want to go to the website, we also have a golf tournament at the end of April as well, April 28th, I believe. If you guys want to come out, hear Pat, hear everybody that's sponsoring Pat, everybody that's endorsing him, you can come out. It's good. It'll be a good time.
First, spend your money on the sign.
Vanessa, last thing to close up, I want to thank you and Melissa, Vanessa, right?
Valera.
Valera, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And Melissa, I want to thank both of you and of course everyone back here and everyone showing up. This is what Mountain House is about, and I appreciate you championing this. It's great. Continue that movement. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you guys for coming this
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Definitely go with the next one.
Thank you.